Dia of Accordia. My name is Jessica, and I know I don't look like it because people never hesitate to tell me, but I do witchy shit, and more importantly, I do it well. So if you're interested in Irish spirituality, mythology, all that good stuff, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications because I post very sporadically. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, we are going to have a quick chat today about probably the most famous and the most worked with of all of the Irish gods, on Morrigan, the great queen of the other world. So I started making YouTube videos because my gods told me to, and the Morrigan specifically requested in a journey a couple of years ago that my first video be about her. Now that obviously didn't happen, and it was down to an anxiety of being perceived as strange for my spiritual practice, and I felt like I had to dip my toes in to making videos before I started getting totally outright weird, witchy and wonderful, you know? But that anxiety about being perceived as weird was a challenge in and of itself that I had to overcome, and one that the Morrigan actually helped me with overcoming. The Morrigan is not just a goddess of sovereignty, but she is the goddess of sovereignty among a sea of Irish goddesses of sovereignty. She is the great queen. She is the queen of the other world. She does not lose battles, and she will not allow you to lose your own either if you intend on working with her. What's that quote? And it's like, you fall down 50 times, you stand up 51 or something like that. It's very, very her. But yeah, I just wanted to preface this video by saying that this is going to be more of a look at her personally from my own perspective of having a relationship with her, rather than it being like a more source-based looking at the mythology kind of video, because those videos are already out there, they exist and they're great help to you, but I wanted to make something more about my own relationship with her, and if you can take something from that, then happy days. The Morrigan is an Anglicization, I keep tripping over that word, but moving on, of the Irish on Morrigan, which literally means the Great Queen. Now, actually, I usually prefer to use the genuine Irish names and phrases in my own practice, but this is the one where Morrigan is actually more comfortable for me than the actual official title itself. I feel like Morrigan is kind of like a little nickname for her. She will kill me for saying that. She is just not a very, very soft deity. You would really have to go to Bridget for that, at least I would. It's not to say that the Morrigan doesn't have a softer side. She will just very rarely show it because she's very much about her business. So the Morrigan is a triple goddess, and you can either see this as three aspects of the one goddess, or you can see it as three sister goddesses working together. I actually kind of see it as both, which I know doesn't make sense, but if my spiritual practice has taught me anything, it's that nothing makes sense, and in understanding that nothing makes sense, things will start to make sense. Does that make sense? So the three aspects, or the three sister goddesses of the Morrigan, are Morrigan, Ambaib, which means the crow or the raven, and Nevin or Maca, depending on what text you're using as your source. I do actually tend to use the latter interchangeably. Not that they're the same goddess, but they represent the same part of the one goddess in a way. Totally up to yourself which one you might feel connected to more. You might be like me and you kind of work with both of them. But ultimately, I think what I've learned the most from Nevin and Maca is that you can do all the spiritual work in the world, but until you actually start physically showing up as the person that you're supposed to be, and you actually start showing real life, tangible, things that you can show for what the effort and work you put in, all of it's for nothing. So the Morrigan is very much a talk is cheap kind of goddess. It's actually Mother's Day in Ireland today, so let me take this opportunity to point out, and I cannot stress this enough, the Morrigan is not a mother goddess. She is not a motherly figure. She doesn't have any interest in nurturing you, mollycoddling you, babying you, mothering you. So I do actually work with the entire Irish pantheon to some degree. I obviously have more of a connection to some deities than others. But it was one of like my first journeys ever with the Morrigan, and she made the point to tell me that she would not baby me in the way that my other gods do. My other gods are quite soft and gentle with me. She is not. She made it clear that she had high expectations of me, and it was my job to reach those expectations. Like I said, she is a bit of a stern figure. She'd be big on her kind of tough love kind of vibe. But yeah, I don't really know where people have gotten like the mother kind of side to her, because I just really don't experience that. And I know that plenty of other people that have relationships with her don't experience that either. Sometimes I will catch her like crack like a slight smile when I'm journeying with her if I say something amusing. The Irish gods do have a brilliant sense of humour. They love laughter, they love jokes, like she does have that side to her, but I think honestly she portrays herself as such a formidable character on purpose, because in doing that she's able to weed out the people that aren't actually worthy of having a relationship with her at that present time. And that's not to say that you will never be worthy of her, it's just to say that like if you're like really nervous about making contact with her, or like totally just like shitting yourself, you're not worthy of her, because what good is a warrior who can't control their own fear? At the end of the day, she is a goddess of war. Now, when we say goddess of war, that doesn't always have to be in the traditional sense of what war is. We all have battles that we will have to fight in our own lives, and she can help you with overcoming those battles. She can help you with concocting a strategy for those battles. She is very, very strategic and always thinking 10 steps ahead, probably 100 steps ahead. But her associations with war all come back down to her being a goddess of sovereignty. Sometimes things, people, armies will threaten your sovereignty, and you will have to defend that. You will have to fight for your right to be and remain sovereign. A more relatable instance where that might show up in the life of the average person would be somebody pushing you around and you have to stand up to them. You have to be willing to fight for yourself, and she will assist you in finding the inner strength needed to do just that. She will most likely teach you something about anger as well. Like divine anger is absolutely a thing, and there is nothing low vibrational about knowing that you deserve better treatment than what you have received. But the Morrigan will teach you how to work with your anger in a healthy way that actually benefits you, or the world somehow, that's doing some sort of good. Like for me, it's been about learning to channel my anger into motivation, particularly at the gym, and finding a healthy outlet for that. So I'll go to the gym and I'll think about all the things that piss me off, and I'll have a great workout. I'll get all that anger out of my system. And I've also taken steps towards becoming a stronger, healthier, fitter version of myself, which the Morrigan is really, really big on with me in general. Let me know if you have also had the same experiences as that. Like she's huge on physical health with me, like easily top 3 things that she cares about when it comes to my relationship with her is being physically fit and strong. And of course, physical health, strength, fitness, that is all going to depend on you as a person and what your own abilities are. So like, don't take that to mean it's like, oh, you can't work with the Morrigan if you're not going to go to the gym and lift weights and do this and the other. Whatever healthy and fit means to you, she would like for you to get closer to being that in some capacity. That's all I'm saying. I believe it's also her relation to war that has accrued some connections to death. Now, I absolutely see the connections and the associations, but I do not consider the Morrigan to be a goddess of death. Like, yes, death is a byproduct of war, but if we're looking at death in like the literal sense of the process of dying, I don't think that's her. I just don't. I'm sorry. I feel like that is a point of contention, absolutely, but I just really, really don't see it. And part of the reason why is because there already exists within the Irish pantheon a god of death, Down, and it's said in the mythology that spirits of the dead visit Down's palace. and also that he's able to both take life and give life back. So when we look at like death in like its pure form of what death is, I would still see that as being given to down, or at least the process of dying being given to down. But again, the Irish gods are very multifaceted and they do like to share the burdens of things. So don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the Morrigan has absolutely nothing to do with death. I just don't think she's a goddess of death in the way that she's really spoken about, particularly in the online world. But she is a goddess of spirit and she is a goddess of fate. And death is absolutely a fated event that leads one back to being spirit, especially because the other world is the Irish version of the spirit world. And like the Morrigan will call herself the Great Queen of the other world. So I do definitely think there is some associations there with death, but again, like the process of death and dying, I would still give that to down. I do think it gets overlooked a bit that the Morrigan is actually a goddess of witchcraft, magic, divination, because she is a goddess of spirit and destiny and fate. So of course those things go hand in hand with each other. But I do think like her more darker aspects like war and death overshadow that side of her. But one time I asked my tarot cards 3 times, what card would the Morrigan be represented by? And 3 times the High Priestess came out. So if you're not familiar with the tarot, definitely like Google that card's meanings, because I think it says a lot about the Morrigan, and particularly how she views herself versus how we are viewing her, and are those 2 things actually matching up? I do have the Crow Tarot, which I will use to divine specifically with the Morrigan, but she does use other decks as well to communicate with me. She doesn't like specifically use that one just because there's crows on it. That's more of a me thing, that I associate the deck with her because there's crows on it. But I remember one day I was divining to ask her about a tattoo that I wanted to get, because I was going to be getting the tattoo for her as a devotional and an offering for her. But of course I was going to ask her first if she liked it or if she wanted me to get it. What was the point in me going getting a tattoo only for her to turn around after and be like, I never asked you to get that, I never wanted that, whatever, do you know? So yeah, I used my Rider Waite deck then and she came through clear as day. So like, you don't have to be using like anything that you like. It might help you to use like that, a deck of cards with crows on it, because you'll make the mental association with the Morrigan, but that's never necessary. But yes, she did absolutely approve the tattoo anyway. I got the Ace of Swords, the Ace of Wands and the Lover's card, so that was a big fat yes. I actually got that tattoo in November, just after Samhain. Samhain is associated with the Morrigan, but I haven't posted it as of yet. Anytime people spot it, like it's on the back of my neck, you can probably just see a little bit of it there. But anytime people do spot it, they're like, oh, what's that? Show me your tattoo. I'm like, it just makes me uncomfortable that other people look at it, because I got it for her and it's very, very intimate, and I feel very vulnerable when I show it to other people. But I will post a picture of it someday, eventually, maybe, hopefully. But that was an offering to her, and just we'll talk quickly about offerings just to finish up the video, I think. But that tattoo, I will never ever get over this, because I've had tattoos elsewhere in my body that have hit bone, and it's been like almost unbearable. Like I got one on my ribcage here, and I walked out and I swore to myself that I was never going to get another tattoo, because it was the most painful experience ever. So I knew before going in to get this tattoo that of course, okay, it's gonna be fucking sore. I was getting it down my spine. Like the crow is only part of the tattoo. It attaches onto Om, and the Om comes down my spine, and the Om says Morrigan. But I don't know, like she knew I was getting the tattoo. I prayed before I went in to get it. She knew I was dedicating the entire experience of getting the tattoo for her, not just the actual tattoo itself, like the money spent on it, the time spent planning it, like the pain of receiving it. That was all to be an offering for her. And when I tell you, the pain of the tattoo was the most enjoyable experience. Like I still think about it. Like I will sit down and I'll think about the feeling of that needle going down my spine, and I'm just like, God, I wish I could experience that again. Like, and I don't mean like enjoyable in a sexual way. It was not a sexual feeling, but like, I don't know. It was just so interesting to know that, okay, other tattoos that I've gotten that have touched bone were agonizing. And then the one tattoo I get touching bone that I give as an offering to a goddess, I enjoy it. You know? I do find that the Morrigan prefers more like tangible experiences and actions as offerings over like physical items left on an altar for her. Like, me spending time at the gym would be a good offering for her. Me dedicating my time spent on activism, like going to protest, is something that would be a good offering for her. That's another thing. Sovereignty and politics go hand in hand. Do not think that you will build a relationship worth anything with her if you don't intend on giving something back to your communities and at least trying to make a worthwhile difference in the world around you. If I find crow feathers when I'm out and about, I will usually take them home and give them as an offering to her and just put them on my altar though. But I also feed the crows everywhere I go as an offering to her as well. I like to like rip like whatever it is I'm eating. So basically in the mornings when I'm going to work, I'll stop at the shop most of the days and I'll get like hash browns or something for breakfast, and the crows have actually started to like wait outside the shop for me when they see me go in, and then I walk down to the bus stop. And not every day, but some days they will fly beside me as I walk down to the bus stop. Like, they obviously know at this point that, yeah, this girl feeds us. So they tend to get like half of my breakfast, but I will like to rip the food into 3 pieces at least the first time, and I'll throw it out, say, for the Morrigan, for Ambive, and for Nevin or for Macca. I have absolutely lost count as well of the amount of times that I've been sitting there just thinking about the Morrigan, and out of nowhere a crow sits down right in front of me and just stares me out of it, and I'm just like, it's a little bit eerie, isn't it? She will absolutely use crows as a sign for you, like 100%, not a shadow of a doubt in my mind. If you start seeing crows, it's probably her. So I think this video is probably getting to the point of being done now. But the Morrigan is my most closely worked with deity. I don't like to say like my favorite deity or like the deity I'm most devoted to, because I am devoted to all of them, but I do work with her the most out of all of them, to be honest with you. So we will definitely talk about her more again. I absolutely have more to say, but for now, comment below your own experiences with working with the Morrigan and let's see if we have anything in common. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and praise to the great queen. Thank you. Bye.